Salam everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered. So this episode is actually part 2 of a previous episode that we recorded. If you haven't already, make sure you check that out. But just a little recap, we've been talking about sacrifices, compromises, and things that women settle in all aspects of life. So the previous episode, we actually talked about relationships and families and the different things that we sacrifice or compromise in that area. And for this episode, we're going to be talking about those things, but in a career perspective. And make sure you guys stick around towards the end, because we're actually going to have 2 of the guys from the pod come and react to the things that we said from the previous episode and this episode. So, just a little recap again. We're going to be talking about compromises, sacrifices, and settling. So really quickly, all 3 of them are different. So can you guys quickly tell us what you guys think of each word? So what's compromising?
Compromising, I would say, benefits both of you.
Okay.
And a sacrifice, regardless of if it benefits you or not, it definitely benefits the other person. That's how I would.
For compromise, like I said in the last pod, it's like meeting in the middle. It has to be not always 50-50, but it's like, it benefits either or. I mean, majority both of the people. And then sacrifice, it's the same thing where like you literally sacrifice your side and then it benefits the other. Majority of the times I feel like sacrifice, like it doesn't always benefit you. And it always benefits like the other person.
And then what about settling?
Settling, it doesn't benefit anybody.
Yeah. In the long run, it does.
In the long run,
It might seem like...
Initially, it seems like, it's good. It's like, you're doing it for the bigger picture or whatever. But like she said,
it just
in
doesn't
the
come
long run, it
together
doesn't
like
work.
that.
Yeah. So this aspect of careers. Now, there's a lot of... I would say there's more sacrificing and settling when it comes to women and their careers than compromises. Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I can right away think of is... From an early age, now again, this is a very big disclaimer that everything we say doesn't pertain to every single woman out there. This is just generally from
our own experiences,
from we've seen, what we hear, and things like that. But one of the things that I hear a lot when I talk to older women or just, women who are married, have kids, and just in general what I see is a woman could be studying, medicine or actually let's say you're a senior in high school, right? And you're trying to pick a career. Unfortunately, a lot of women don't choose a career that they want to, that they're passionate about, because they know at the end of the day, later on in 5-6 years or 3-4 years, when they get that degree, they get that profession completed, they won't be able to continue with it because their role as a mother, their role as a daughter-in-law, their role as a wife becomes more important than their role or their career path. So a lot of women, instead of saying, I want to be a doctor, they're like, what's something that I can, settle for. I can do for a few years, and then, when I have to become a wife or when I have to become a mother, I can just kind of drop it. Because unfortunately, they don't have a choice, and they have to drop it.
You know what I also think that a lot of girls could possibly be doing? They gear their passions towards their future. Like, regardless, I know, obviously some girls are passionate about becoming a doctor or a lawyer or anything, very prestigious, but they settle for something else. But some girls probably even geared that passion to, what could benefit them in the future with their families and with their in-laws, with their kids, with their husbands.
Like, give an example.
Like some girls probably wouldn't even consider becoming a doctor or a lawyer because they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I just want, because I know I'm going to have a family.
But when you mean they choose a career.
But that's a choice.
But when you say they choose a career that would benefit their future family, what's an example of, you mean by time, right? On how much time it would take? So choosing a career that would
how much you have to commit to it, yeah.
Okay.
They would choose something that doesn't require as much dedication. Which isn't necessarily bad, but you should know
but
you have a choice regardless. You have a choice regardless, but
and it all comes down to your values.
I mean, some people do care more about family rather than career, which is completely fine, but we need to understand that you should always have a choice regardless.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying, we're not saying that if you were a housewife, why would you? No. This is just for women who, unfortunately, they just thought right away that, okay, I can't be a doctor, I can't be a lawyer, I can't be something that requires a lot of studying in the future because in my mind, I know I'm going to have to, or they don't have a choice and they just know that they're going to end up just dropping that and they're going to continue. Because if you think about it, education is not cheap here. We're paying thousands of dollars to get this degree, and just to think of in a few years, we might not have some women don't have the choice to continue using that degree. Like,
right.
you know, like there's unfortunately
because it's like a
events that
backup, like I
happen.
said in like the last episode.
It's
most of the time
it's
it's
seen
used as
as
a backup too.
So yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't happen. Not saying it happens with every woman, but it's I've heard stories, and I know people. And
People just
it
don't reach their
happens.
full potential because of they think that they're holding themselves back.
And
for,
that
for,
right
you
there
know.
is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Do you guys think, like, did you guys ever go through that thought process when you were choosing a career, or like think about going to college when you were a senior in high school,
definitely
or
did.
even like in between like college and stuff like that?
Yeah,
I definitely
definitely.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I would, you know, when I was thinking of applying for graduate school, that was one of the biggest things that came up. Because for me, I had to apply very early. Like, I had to be in this program. So I was still, like, fresh out of college or fresh out of high school. So my thought was, like, is it even worth it paying so much money to get a graduate degree? Like, am I even going to be using this profession, this career, this degree? But yeah, it's unfortunate, but I've thought about
For you guys
it.
personally, though, do you guys see it as a sacrifice or just something that, like, you're okay with doing?
Now, here's my thing. And this is why I say this is your choice.
Your choice.
Everyone's values are different, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I wouldn't mind if I have to compromise my profession for a few years to take care of my kid or if my family, for me, I wouldn't mind. Because for me, I value that more than working.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Right?
me, it was
For me.
definitely more of a choice, too. Like, I
Yeah.
prefer...
And I feel like take into account, like, you know, for you, like, you guys value, like, you know, taking care of your family. I'd say the same, too. But I feel like no woman should feel pressured into thinking that, like, you know, it's her obligation. Because at the end of the day, like, if you're in a marriage, like, your husband could do that too, you know, like he could sacrifice his career for a little bit and take care of the kids, and then you can pursue your career too. So I feel like that's one thing that we always emphasize within this episode and the previous episode. It's like, it's always your choice, and don't feel pressured to think that like it's this obligation is always going to go on you, you know, like you have a whole partner that you can communicate these responsibilities to.
You know what's an upside to this though? I've been hearing actually, like a lot of guys do sacrifice their careers for the sake of their families. I feel like that's becoming more common. I feel like it's becoming a little bit more common.
Wait, guys?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it specifically, but I feel like the fact that, I mean, also, like, I'm not, like, in an age of getting married, or, like, my friends are recently getting married, but what I was going to say is that, like, since a lot of, like, men and women are becoming more open-minded now, so it could become a thing, you know, where, like, guys are going to be willing to more sacrifice and, like, take, because I feel like the typical role, even now, too, it's just, like, the women are going to take care of their children, but now, like, everyone's becoming more open-minded, so it's not, like, out of the blue or out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And since we're talking about careers and stuff, one thing I want to say about education is a lot of people see education as just this, like, pathway to get, like, a degree and to get a profession. Education isn't just that. Education is literally educating yourself in so many different ways, and it's these different ways that you can educate yourself.
Yeah.
These things help you in the future as, you know, a future wife or a future mother.
You grow as a
It's not
person
just-
overall, you know?
exactly.
Like
It's
these
not just you-
experiences you go through,
Yeah,
everything.
It's not you focusing on, okay, this is how I'm going to
It's
be a
not just
doctor.
schoolwork, yeah.
You learn values, you learn different ethics, you learn different skills in life. You
Yeah.
learn so many things you can't
You learn
just
about
learn on
yourself,
the street.
too.
You learn
And
about yourself.
education obviously does not stop after college or
Of
like high school or
course.
whatever.
Yeah.
Even like at my job or whatever, I've a lot of jobs, they promote like, you know, getting education like within the company too, you know, like, oh,
Yeah.
there's like this seminar, there's like this class that we're having. So yeah, that's one disclaimer that we'd say, is that education does not stop after high school, college, and it's not always leading to your career.
And you're never too old to continue your education.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a whole different topic
That's a
too.
whole
Yeah.
different topic. So another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys or ask you guys is, again, this doesn't happen to, wouldn't say this is a general statement for every woman out there, but with, I guess, our community, our Desi
What we've
community,
seen.
what we see a lot is if a woman is becoming a doctor or a lawyer or some really high profession, when it's time for them to get married, unfortunately, it's either you marry that same high profession or you marry someone that's even a higher profession.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons for that is money,
Yeah.
right? Because I guess you could say it's an ego thing.
But it depends, obviously.
But again,
yeah.
it depends, yeah. But why is it so like okay, Beta, if you're a doctor, you have to marry a doctor too.
Yeah.
Why is it like, why do you guys think it's that way? Like, why do
particularly for women?
Yeah, like let's say a girl really likes this one guy, and she's a doctor, but this guy isn't a doctor, isn't a lawyer. He's just working something else. You know.
With that, it also reflects poorly on the guy. Like, it makes him look bad.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
that's how it is.
Yeah,
and that's how everyone just sees it. Like, oh, like why is she marrying lower than him?
Yeah,
lower than what she is.
Let's say a guy is a doctor, some profession.
But the woman is not.
Yeah, the woman is not. That's fine.
It's more acceptable.
Like the parents are gonna go up to the guy and be like, no, you have to marry someone who is also of the same high profession or making more than you. But for a woman, it's.
Do you think it's because like you obviously not now, but like back in the day, like women having education or like a career wasn't as valued as much. So do you think that past mindset that society had carried on to like now, basically?
Oh, definitely.
So I feel like that's where it originated from.
Okay.
Obviously here, like today, that is still an issue, especially with the Desi community. But like I said, we are like, getting better. But I feel like subconsciously that would always be on like the family's mind, the guy's mind, maybe sometimes even the woman's mind. Like
I do think it's because primarily guys are seen as like the provider of the house, so
that's also
he shouldn't
true.
be lower than his wife.
Yeah, because then you think about it. Let's say you do end up the doctor. If you're a woman, you're a doctor, and you do end up being the one that makes more. Then the mindset is like, okay, but what about when are you gonna be able to have kids? Like, what's gonna happen when you have kids? Like, are you gonna still continue being a main supporter?
Yeah.
How are you gonna do that? But then you also have to take care of the family. Like, how is that gonna work? Like,
it's also seen as that the woman would be the sole provider. Like she's the one who has to give up her career to take care of her kids. And there are several different aspects onto like why people believe like, oh, the woman should stay at home and everything, but they don't take into account like she has a whole career for herself too, like she is a mother, she is a wife, but she has a whole career, and that she's super passionate about. She can't just like give up that like on the spot. It's very difficult, and like not a lot of people talk about that either. Not even a lot of people don't even talk about like how to deal with it, so I feel like when it does come down to like any one of us, when it, like we have kids and stuff like that, like how do you deal with that? It's very difficult to deal with because we've never been through that. It's not been a conversation that's been talked about, so it's obviously like really hard to adapt with as well. So
it's just, I feel like it's really annoying because people always associate a woman with like she is a mother, or she is like a working woman, or she is a wife. She's her own person first, and all these things do add to it, but it's these labels. I feel like that's the issue.
And also like another thing that I will add on is sometimes it's like I said in the previous episode, like if a woman puts herself first, it's considered as selfish and stuff like that. And even nowadays, like if a woman like doesn't want to like if she doesn't want to stay at home and like be a full-time like stay-at-home wife to take care of her kids, and she like puts them in a daycare, like some people would see that as selfish or something like that, but like it's not, like she's at the end of the day she's still providing like care for her children.
She's doing what she can.
And like like regardless, like people always have to make money and everything, like you have to take that into account, so it's not always easy, but I feel like the burden goes on the woman at the end of the day.
I just feel like women, like we said in the last one, women just can't win. If you're a working woman, they'll say something about you. If you're at home, you're like submissive and not doing anything. So I feel like people will just always have something to say.
Yeah. That's true. And again, since this topic is about careers, like, we obviously talked about that other end of it, like if we're for women that are trying to strive for a job and get an education. But at the end of the day, staying at home, taking care of a family, taking care of your kids, taking care of your house, I think, in my opinion, and let me know if you guys agree or not, I think that's the biggest job out there.
I totally agree.
And it's the most hard, seriously, I look at my mom and I just like look at her and I'm just like, you're literally taking care of an entire house, you're taking care of me, you're taking care of my two brothers, you're literally making us food, you're making sure this house doesn't fall apart. Like, I really find it so beautiful that, there are like, we have so many, like, Masha, we have so many like talents and we have so many like different like values and things like that. And in either direction, whether you want to work or you don't want to work, if you're going to stay at home, take care of your kids, take care of your husband, take care of your family, in all aspects, I think it's a respectful
I feel like people don't like really like realize how much of a full-time job alone it is to take care of kids and be at home.
It's hard.
My mom literally has been doing this for majority of her life, and even she wanted to do something with her life, but at the end of the day she has this mindset that has been built up throughout her life, and even growing up in Pakistan, family first,
it's what
kids
she
first,
believes.
and I feel when you grow up that way, it's hard to put yourself first, and it breaks my heart seeing my mom putting all of us first. She'd rather put all of us first than do something for herself, you know. I don't remember the last time my mom has done something for herself, you know, that, and I feel it's our responsibility to force you know, your mom to do something
just
for
take
herself.
care of
but that's
them.
another thing, it's such a
important
huge responsibility,
Yeah.
regardless if you have kids at home, working full-time at home, you know, doing taking care of kids, cooking, cleaning. But yeah, it's a really respectable thing as well.
So let me because I just thought of this, and I personally think of this all the time. Let's say your mom, so all of your guys' moms are stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
Same here. Let's say your mom wasn't a stay-at-home mom, and she was working from a very since you were really small. Let's say she was working. Do you guys think the same? It would have been the same structure or family dynamic, having both your parents be working. Because obviously there's people out there that have both parents that are working, right?
Yeah.
But for us who always had a mother or some figure in the house kind of just being there for us, taking care of us, how do you see it being different? And maybe the way you were raised, if your mom if your mom made a compromise like that to work.
Yeah. I feel the fact that if my mom did grow up in a started working and everything at a younger age, for me, I wouldn't think it would be that big of a difference, only because me and my sisters, we made a life for ourselves outside of our home. You know, we got a lot of our characteristics and abilities and all of that through school, but I feel I just have regardless of what my mom does, but I have so much respect for her, you know, it's it shows me a lot more on how much she sacrificed for bringing that word again, but yeah, I can definitely say she sacrificed a lot, but I feel it made me appreciate her more, you know. And I'm not saying that mom that does work you know, but the thing is that the fact that she's there and she's always there, and she wouldn't work, that just made me appreciate her more. But I wouldn't necessarily, for me, I wouldn't say it would make a huge difference, but I get why it would. What about you guys?
I had a different experience. So when I was young, my mom was working, and this was in Georgia, and until we moved here to Chicago, which was in 7th grade, my mom was working until I was in 7th grade, which is 12 years. So yeah, she was always working, my dad was always working, and in the house, we always had my dadi, my grandma, there too. But I really don't think it would have been any different.
Yeah.
I feel my mom sacrificed so much of her time. She gave all she could into her work, and she gave all she could into her household. And, you know, my dadi was there too. So I feel I really, alhamdulillah, got so lucky because I saw my mom working and I saw her giving in to her home. And I feel I was just very blessed to see both sides of it. So I really don't see how people can force a woman to do one or the other and say that she can't win in every aspect, because I saw my mom literally winning while she was having a career and while she was at home.
And that just tells you that, you know, all sacrifices don't have to be bad.
Yeah,
there are sacrifices that we can make that are in the long run still, you know, helpful.
Yeah.
But I think we got everything kind of
Yeah.
off of our chest. So now we're going to bring in the guys, and they're going to kind of tell us their perspective on the things that we said. So, Nazish?
Yes, so we're going to have Damour and Masani join us over here.
It's back.
Oh,
Hello, welcome on.
Hello, hello.
What's
Welcome,
up?
you guys.
all right, hold up. Oh, I had a cough for a little.
Yeah.
Okay, so while we were
What's going on?
recording both of our episodes, these guys were sitting in the back, and I'm sure they were listening, and they probably have a lot to say.
Yeah. that's not
So
bad.
let's start. I mean, I hope you have a lot to say. So let's start with the first question.
sure.
Which sacrifice or compromise that we talked about on these 2 episodes, what really stood out to you, or what really shocked you?
I feel like you guys talked about a lot of different things. I don't think this answer probably does it justice, but it was one of the more trivial ones that I feel like I wouldn't have recognized. For example, though, but you guys talked about the fact that you guys have to show up to dawats. I feel like I've seen it, but I didn't think about it. Tamar, what about you, bro?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I've never had to experience what you guys have to experience. You kind of putting your family's putting yourself out
Yeah.
there like that.
Yeah.
We don't really get that. We kind of we can wear whatever. It takes me like 10 minutes to put on like hoodie and jeans.
And you
Yo,
guys can just show up like
that-
that, right?
Yeah, straight
that's
up.
facts. Yeah, I feel
You
like
don't have to deal with
so
that.
growing up with two younger sisters, I feel like I've seen that a lot, right? Like we'll show up to Dawits and be in a hoodie and some joggers,
Yeah.
but like they'll have to be dressed like the 9s and 10s, makeup done and on. It's kind of like, I feel like for the most part though, it's because I feel like you guys are kind of just showing off at the Dawits, you know? Like I feel like guys, we just kind of show up and we're there.
you're what? We're
Like I
girls or
feel like
what?
you guys are like, you're like kind of like showing off at Dawits, no? Like I feel like,
We're showing off.
no, you're
Yeah, you-
showing
Oh, we're
off.
showing
showing
off.
off.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say
Showing off.
misogyny.
No, you're not
Yeah.
showing off, but
That
I feel
did
like
not go in a
Showing
good
off.
direction, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're definitely being
no,
shown
I feel
off.
like yeah, I feel like people are watching you, right? Like versus as a guy, like I'm just kind of there, I'm chilling.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
looked at too, but probably not as much as them. Like we're probably up there too. Like
Because
people
we're literally
see
being
us.
presented, like we said, like Uwama
Yeah,
said,
you guys,
auctioned off.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like you guys are being presented. Like as a guy, like I'm just there for the food most of the time.
Yeah.
So
Fair
I feel like
enough.
that was
That
one of the
is.
ones that like I feel like you recognize it and you see it, but you may never like consciously be like, oh damn, like that happens.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's fair enough, I guess. Second question. Would you, this is a little bit deeper, so if you guys need a minute to think about it, go ahead. But would you sacrifice your job to take care of the kids and take on that woman role, the stereotypical woman role, like in the household?
Me?
Go ahead,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like our silence kind of gives
Yeah,
an
I
answer,
feel-
but yeah.
You want me?
You go.
Go
Masani, I know both. I know how you are too, and I am like. I think us personally, I would say we wouldn't. Right? Do you agree with me on
Really?
that? Would you?
I think it depends.
Yeah.
And I know that's a crappy answer.
Yeah.
But it depends, right? Like,
I don't see a
If-
problem with it. I'm gonna start
You
off
don't
by
see a
saying
problem
that I
with
don't
it? You
see
know,
a problem.
like-
If they want, if that's what the guy wants to do, like.
but you know who sees the problem with it though? And I
Mm.
feel like what really impacts us is like the older generations always see a problem with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then the thing with it, like they see people especially is like people always like to talk about you. And I feel like if you're staying at home, right, and like your wife is working, she's the one making money in the family.
It makes you
Like
look like
people
less
put
of
a
man,
stain on your
right?
reputation.
Yeah.
So I feel like
facts.
that really forces guys to be like, nah, I'm gonna go. But like, yo, if you're working a deadbeat job at McDonald's, like, come on, take some time off, bro. You know, I feel like that's my take on it. I feel like there's so many different ways you could go about it, but I think it depends on your family. I think it goes back to the whole idea of compromise that you guys were talking about.
Mhm.
I don't feel like you guys should always have to sacrifice, but I don't think there's a one size fits all kind of answer.
Yeah.
T, what about you?
Yeah, you're right about that. I like what you said at the end. The one size fits all. I haven't heard that analogy in a minute, but yeah, it was good. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel like, is it pressure from, is it like cultural pressure, or is it the pressure from like guys that you feel like, your friends or like people that have been recently married feel to take time off?
I think it's still more cultural
Okay.
than our own experiences, because I feel like that's just what we see, like you said, the older generation. I feel
Yeah.
like that's what's kind of looming over us, and we always have to take that into account
Mhm.
before anything else. Like
Okay.
like regardless of what our married friends have gone through,
Yeah.
I feel like we're always just thinking about like, oh, what would that older generation think?
Dude, as a follow-up though, right? Because I feel like our generation, like we really push the boundaries a lot,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know?
2020.
Yeah. Yeah, like we really push the boundaries, but like do you feel as if like once we push the boundaries, right, and you get married, do you feel like your kids will have that same cultural pressure? Is that cultural pressure going to be alleviated just based off like the type of people our generation is raising?
I think since we've been pushing these boundaries, we kind of have that sort of, we're definitely more open-minded, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like that just has like a better impact on how our kids will be.
Okay.
I feel like, yeah, that's what I think. What
I
about
think
you?
we'll be more lenient.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're more open-minded
Yeah,
and stuff.
for sure.
It's a lot of the old school mentality that's been like that
But,
we have to deal with.
Bro,
I
like
feel.
lenient, like both parents working and like you let the kids like do what they want, or lenient as in like if the guy did it, it wouldn't be a deep issue, right? Like when you say lenient, are you talk which way are you leaning?
I'm leaning more towards the guy.
The guy doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't know if you meant by leniency like all right, both parents work and you just let the kid.
I meant with the
Like-
guy.
No, I feel like
Okay.
no. See, when you said old school, I feel like there are definitely things from like these old school mindsets that we have. I feel like a lot of them are pretty beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So, like letting the kids just run around and do whatever they want. No, they still need that sort of guidance. But regardless whether it comes from the mother or the father, I feel like that shouldn't matter. What about you
That's
guys?
fair.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's
Okay.
fair.
Last question. As the generations go by, do you think guys have been starting to appreciate women more, or do you think it's pretty much just the same?
I think this kind of cuts into like what we just discussed. Like it's a lot of the old school,
the old school
mentality that
mentality?
was like destroying it. But now that I feel like times are changing, we're getting more like open to like just how everything is, you know. Feel me?
Yeah, I feel like guys are like kind of growing up. Not
Yeah.
like I'm not saying that like guys are perfect, but I feel like we're growing up right near. It's not as like stereotypical or like it's looked down upon to like be in touch with your feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like before like, and we've talked about this in so many episodes. Like showing emotions is a bad thing, but I feel like in our generation, like there are people who are good at showing emotions, and that's why I feel like if you can show your emotions, then you can put yourself in a position where you can like show appreciation to like your partner versus like. Because I feel like, yeah, you know, we've discussed on so many episodes, and I feel like you guys discussed it with your parents and how, like you know, like your mom was working. Like, that's a big thing. Like, you know, like as a father, you're already expected to work, but as a mother, like, that's putting 2 full-time jobs on your plate, right? So it's like, if you can be in touch with your emotions, I feel you can show that appreciation versus if you haven't grown up and you're still childish and you're still like, oh, well, you know, what will, like, my friends say? Like, then I feel like you don't show appreciation. So, again, like, I feel like some guys do it and some guys don't do it.
But there's still, like, I feel like there's still a lot
think
of
we're
growing
getting-
up to do. But I think we've come, it's pretty decent, you know?
I was gonna say I think we're getting better, but
Yeah,
you are
definitely
right.
getting better.
We're getting better.
We're not there yet, but it's pretty good.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean,
I think that-
hopefully the next generation, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
the generation that
goal.
we raise. But that pretty much wraps up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this little switcheroo thing that we had going on. But make sure you guys are following us on Instagram and on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
YouTube,
All right,
Instagram.
perfect. All right, we'll see you guys next week.